Hello, my name is Tim Kelley. I'm one of the commanders with the Oxnard Police Department. Today I'm going to talk to you about active shooter, or what we call or refer to as active assailant, and talk a little bit about ways to respond if you're ever in the unfortunate situation of being involved in one of these incidents. Some of the things that we'll talk about is we'll begin by just giving a definition of what an active shooter or active assailant is, because I think it's important that we have a clear understanding and definition of what that means. Talk a little bit about look at some of the statistics, which are pretty sobering. Talk about how you might consider preparing yourself for, again, one of these events, what your response might be. And then finally talk about what our response is going to be as law enforcement, because it's important for everybody to understand and have a good idea of what our responsibilities are and how we're going to respond to one of these incidents. So again, I'd like to start by giving a definition of what an active shooter is. We're kind of moving away from the term active shooter and using the term active assailant. Although most of these incidents involve firearms, we're starting to see more and more of these incidents where things like vehicles are being used as weapons, or knives, incendiary devices, explosive, those types of things. So we've kind of moved away from the term just active shooter and are using active assailant. The definition that we use is a definition that the Department of Justice and FBI use, and that is an individual actively engaged in killing or attempting to kill people in a confined and populated area. One of the things to keep in mind is that although most of these events only involve one suspect, there are past incidents where there have been multiple suspects involved. A good example of that would be the Columbine shooting. So just looking at some statistics, these are statistics from the FBI, and looking at the years 2017 to 2021. Between those years, the FBI recorded 192 active assailant incidents that resulted in over 1,600 deaths. Probably the most shocking statistics is between 2020 and 2021 alone, there was a 52.5% increase in the number of these incidents. And between 2017 and 2021, there was a 96.8% increase. So that's pretty shocking to see. Although having these conversations is not always the most comfortable thing, the reality is these incidents are occurring more and more frequently. And it's important for us all to have conversations about this ahead of time and have some kind of plan in place, again, in the unlikely and unfortunate event that we're ever caught in one of these types of situations. Another important statistic, and we'll talk more about this later on in the presentation, is the majority of these incidents ended before police ever arrived. Again, looking at more statistics, 70% ended in 5 minutes or less, 37 ended in 2 minutes or less. Although our job as law enforcement is to respond to these as quickly as possible and to stop the threat as quickly as possible, when you're looking at those types of numbers, 5 minutes and 2 minutes, unless an officer is actually physically there when this type of event occurs, chances are by the time that we arrive, it's going to be over. Usually that is by way of either the suspect committed suicide or the suspect fled the scene, or in some instances, and we're seeing this more and more often, civilians are intervening. So again, it's important that you realize that although we're going to get there as quickly as we can, there's a good likelihood that we're not going to get there in time. The event is already going to be over. So it's important that knowing that you have some type of plan in place. Again, 67% of these incidents end before police even were able to respond. Looking at locations, just kind of a breakdown in where the majority of these incidents occur. 45% occur in businesses or commercial areas. 25% occurred in schools, 10% in government facilities, and 20% in miscellaneous locations like places of worship and medical facilities. I want to show you a quick, I believe it's about 11 minutes long video. It's from Texas State University. And it just shows a method of responding and preparing for this type of incident. And it's a method that we've adopted in our teaching.
911, what's your emergency?
There's a gunman inside the store. We need help now.
Do anything last weekend? It was very nice, wasn't it?
About is the new system enhancement. What's going to be the solution by the time we...
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Actually think he's got an old, well, he's got a truck. I don't know if your daughter would be interested. Yeah, definitely. Now, she figured out what college she wants to go to?
911, what's your emergency?
We need help. There's a gunman inside the store. He's shooting the place up. We need help now.
issues that we found. Okay, Emily, see what that is. See what's going on. Just let us know what you find out.
There's a man with a gun. He's right there.
What's the wall? Lights. Lock it.
Right county. There you go. You're safe for that.
There's a guy with a gun. He's shooting. Look.
James, we don't have
No, look.
Run! 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 To the right! To the right! To the loading dock! Come on, this way, this way, this way!
Oh, no, come here.
Yeah, in here, in here. The gunman's coming.
What are we gonna do?
We're gonna have to defend ourselves.
I can't do this.
You're gonna see your daughter tonight, okay? We are all going to go home tonight, all right? We have a right to defend ourselves. Get the gun! Get the gun! Hey! Hold him down, hold him down!
Gosh, I'm just so glad you're okay.
Yes, we're all gonna go home. Everybody's going home.
Yeah.
If you ever have the misfortune to be in an active shooter event, you deserve to survive. In our research, we have found that the actions that potential victims take during these events are critical to their survival. We have identified 3 options that have proven effective in many events. These are: avoid the attacker, deny the attacker access to your area, defend yourself. It is a personal decision, but you have a right to do so.
So beginning with avoid, this type of event does occur. Your best bet is if you can safely get away and remove yourself from that situation, that's your best bet by far. The fewer people that there are that the suspect has access to, the fewer potential victims there are. So knowing that, it's important to be aware of your surroundings. In today's day and age, everybody is so focused on their cell phones and their tablets, and a lot of people are walking around not really paying attention to what's going on around them. It's important, and it's a good habit to build. Just when you go to the store or a restaurant or your place of business, take a look around, see who's around you, see what's going on, look for anything that might look out of the ordinary or suspicious. And if you do see something that is suspicious, err on the side of caution. Give us a call. It probably is nothing, but let us be the ones to make that determination.
If you see or hear something that looks suspicious, take action. For example, the stalker took immediate and effective action to protect himself when he observed the shooter pulling out weapons from the bag. Others, however, hesitated, and this hesitation can cost them valuable time that they could have used to get away from the threat. If you hear something that is, or could be, gunfire, start trying to get away from it as soon as possible. Gunfire has a distinctive sound. Inside of buildings, the sound can be muffled or distorted. A single loud bang could be a person dropping something, or even thunder. But repeated loud bangs are much more likely to be gunfire. Additionally, look at the reaction of others. Are they startled or scared? Are they running? What are they saying? Any one of these events individually may create denial, but when put together should create a heightened awareness and stimulate an immediate response.
Other things to consider is know where your escape routes are, know your exits. Not just for an active assailant, it's a good practice to get into in the event of a fire. If you sit down at a restaurant, know how to get out. Not just one exit, but not just the closest exit, but is there another exit that in case one of those exits isn't available? Know where stairways are, know where windows are. Again, just if you can avoid being a potential victim and leave the area, that is your best bet.
While avoiding the threat, consider the uses of cover and concealment. Cover offers protection from gunfire, while concealment minimizes your exposure to the attacker. Try to keep objects between you and the attacker.
And then as you do leave, call 911 and any information that you could provide, suspect description, type of weapons, location, direction of travel, whether or not there's any injured and where they're located. That's all useful and very helpful information for us as we're responding to these types of events. So moving on to D, deny. If you can't get away, your next best option is to get inside of a room, shut the door, lock the door, shut the lights off, use furniture to barricade the door. If there's windows, try to cover the windows, silence your cell phones, stay away from doors and windows, get low, get behind desks or other furniture.
Remember, barricades work best if the door opens toward you. If it doesn't, use things that are readily available, such as straps, belts, or objects that can be used to block or secure the door to make it difficult for the attacker to enter the room. This may at least slow the attacker down and give you time to identify alternate means of escape, such as adjoining rooms or windows.
The goal is to prevent the suspect from having access to you. You also want to make it appear as though the room is vacant. Keep in mind the goal of a suspect in these types of incidents is to kill and injure as many people as quickly as possible. So chances are, if a suspect is moving through a building and they come upon a door that's locked, it's barricaded, the lights are off, it's quiet inside, doesn't appear as if there's anybody inside, chances are they're going to move on to an easier target.
Your attempt to deny the attacker access to your location might fail.
The gunman's coming.
What are we gonna do?
We're going to have to defend ourselves.
Have a backup plan about what you will do. In many cases, this may be to defend yourself. You need to be in a place where you can act if the attacker comes into your location. In most rooms, you will line up against the same wall that the door is on, near the door so you can react, but not directly in front of it.
The last D, defend. This is your last option, but this is something that we all need to think about and think about ahead of time. If you're in this situation and the suspect is able to access you, you have to be willing to basically fight for your life, because that's what you're going to have to do, is fight for your life. Do whatever you have to do. Look around for improvised weapons, chairs, other furniture, fire extinguishers. And again, you have to make that decision ahead of time that if the suspect is able to get inside that room, that you're going to fight for your life. If you're with other people, come up with a quick plan. Hey, if the suspect comes through that door, I'm going to grab his legs, you grab his arms, and you try to take the weapon away from him. Again, fight as your life depends on it, because it does.
If you are unable to avoid or deny, your best option may be to defend yourself by using whatever is available. In a situation where someone is attempting to kill you, you have the legal right to defend yourself. Attack weak spots such as eyes, throat, and groin. Fight to the best of your ability and do not quit until the attacker is stopped. This is what the workers in the warehouse did when they were unable to avoid the attacker and felt their lives were in immediate danger.
Something to avoid is don't play dead. There's been a lot of cases where an active shooter has gone into one part of a building, killed and wounded several people, and then returns and begins to shoot the dead and dying again. So it's very risky to play dead. You're much better off either trying to get away or trying to fight for your life.
Whatever option you choose, call 911 as soon as you are in a safe location. Provide any information that you know. The operator will ask you a lot of questions. If you don't know the answer, don't guess. Just say you don't know and only state the facts.
I'm not sure. There's 3 of us in the room. We're on the...
There's a guy with a gun, he's shooting.
This will be a complex situation, and we can't tell you what you should do in every case. What we can do is provide you with information about the options that we have found to be most effective for surviving these attacks. The ultimate choice is yours. What you do matters. Avoid the attacker. Deny access to your location. Defend yourself. Law enforcement will be entering a chaotic scene with limited information.
So our biggest priority, and this is one of the things that we teach our officers, we provide this training to our officers on a yearly basis, but our goal is to get there as quickly as possible, to get into the building as quickly as possible, and to find the suspect and stop the suspect from killing more innocent victims. That is our one and only goal, at least for the initial officers that respond. The first few officers that arrive on scene are going to form what we call a contact team. And again, their one and only job is to move towards the sound of, in some cases, the gunshots or the screaming, whatever the indication is that is kind of pointing to the direction of the suspect. So it's important that you understand that when the first officers arrive on scene, they're not going to stop to talk to you. They're not going to stop to treat people that are wounded. In fact, if an officer is wounded, we're not stopping to provide medical care to the officer. Our one and only job is to stop the suspect so they are not killing more people. So if you are injured, it's important that you realize that if you can what we call self-evacuate, you need to do that. If you have any type of medical training, start providing medical care for yourself, basic first aid for yourself. Realize though that as soon as we are able to, our next priority is to start getting to the wounded and treating the wounded as quickly as possible. Another thing to think about is at some point officers are going to arrive on scene. So you have to be prepared for that. Realize that this is an extremely stressful event for officers. So it's important that when you do encounter officers, don't have anything in your hands, keep your hands visible, preferably up so the officers can see your hands. Avoid making sudden movements. And most importantly, listen to what the officers say, try to stay calm, and follow the officer's directions.
The police may not know where or who the threat is. Listen and comply with their commands immediately.
Put it down, sir. Put it down. Both of you on the ground.
Police are trained to look at people's hands to assess threats. Do not have anything in your hands that could be perceived as a weapon, such as a cell phone.
Show me your hands, sir. Show me your hands. Move to us. Everybody, keep your hands up, please. Walk out the door.
If told to do so, stay where you are and do not make sudden movements. Again, follow all commands. Remember, what you do matters. Avoid the attacker. Deny access to your location. Defend yourself. Remember, ADD. You can survive.
Again, it's important that as you go about your day-to-day lives, just be aware of your surroundings and always have some type of plan in place. The goal of this presentation is not to create paranoia, but the reality of today's day and age is, there aren't any communities that are immune from this. These types of events are occurring more and more frequently. If you recall the borderline shooting, which happened in Thousand Oaks, obviously that was hit very close to home. There's probably some people watching this that know people that were affected by that. The Las Vegas shooting in 2017, a lot of people locally were there and were affected by that. So with that in mind, we can't be naive to the fact that this is something that can happen at any time, anywhere. And it's important to have some type of basic plan in place ahead of time. What you do does matter. Thank you.